Our interview this afternoon is with Sam Petty. Sam was born in Bell County, Texas in October of 1933. He served in the United States Navy from October of 1951 until August of 1955. His highest rank attained was Seaman Third Class. This interview is conducted in Burleson, Texas on Friday, August the 3rd, 2012. My name is Dale Dexheimer. I'm not related to Sam in any way. Also in the room we have Milton Gibson, who is our videographer. This interview is conducted for the Library of Congress and also for Operation Remember, Burleson, Texas. With that, Sam, you can tell us about your time in the Navy, sir.
Well, I went to boot camp San Diego, and shortly after that, I went aboard USS Fire Drake in San Diego, California. Served almost 3 years on the Fire Drake, and got transferred to the USS Mauna Loa, AE-8. Got discharged over in Newport, Rhode Island. The ship, Fire Drake, we were in a 77th Fleet in Korea. Also the 92.2 Fleet in Korea. We served ammunition to all the ships it was in Korea. We spent about 3 to 4 weeks arming ships, and then we'd go back in and load back up and come back out. Sometimes we'd spend 3 to 7 days loading, and that about it, I guess. I don't know.
Well, that was pretty short, wasn't it, Milton? Okay, Sam, let's go back. You grew up in a farm,
Yes,
Bell
sir.
County, which is Central Texas.
Yes, sir.
Mom and Dad both on a farm?
Yes, sir.
How many kids?
It was 8 boys and one girl. My dad and mother adopted one boy, so there was 9 of us. All of us spent military. Every one of us was in the service. I had 2 brothers that retired, one in the Air Force, one in the Army. One in the Army had 30 years, the other one in the Air Force had 22 years.
What'd you grow on the farm, Sam?
We grew cotton and corn, mostly just dirt farmers. What we were, poor dirt farmers. I don't know how Dad. Looking back, I don't know how my dad ever fed us. Really don't. He was a World War I veteran, and he got shrapnel in his right leg, and he limped. Not much, but he limped, and the government offered him, I think, $14 a month, and he said, if that's all you can afford, just keep it. So he didn't take it. And we were on relief in the 30s, but we made it. All of us made it. But I don't know how. But
Interesting to me, Sam, that Mom and Dad were poor farmers,
yes, sir.
but yet somehow adopted, took that one extra mouth in
Yes,
to
sir.
feed.
Yes, sir.
Was there some special story on that adoption?
Yes, sir. The boy belonged to my brother, the 4th one down, and he got a divorce, and he moved to California, and the boy stayed with my mother and dad, and they adopted him. Went ahead and adopted him, I guess, on account of the Social Security.
Oh, okay. So you grew up, Bell County, live in the country. What made you decide to go in the Navy?
Well, all my brothers, all my dad, all of us was service connected, and I felt like I needed to go in and serve my country, and that's
You were 18 years old, Sam?
just barely 18.
Okay.
Just 4 days after I was 18.
So in 1951, you're 18 years old, grew up on his farm.
Yes, sir.
Probably if you went to Belton or Killeen, it was a big deal.
It was a big deal at Nolanville, Texas. I don't know if you know where Nolanville is.
Yeah.
It's just a wide spot between Belton and Killeen. And
Okay.
I saw a first movie I ever saw. I was probably 7 years old, and it wasn't no talking in it. It was just movie, and it was a tent show. It's the first picture show I ever saw.
You remember Pearl Harbor, Sam?
Yes, sir.
What were you doing?
I was on the farm helping my dad. I had two brothers in the Pearl Harbor.
You did.
Matter of fact, my second oldest brother, he ran an M boat, and he picked up President Kennedy when he got shot out from under the PT boat, and ended up being President Kennedy. And also, he was Elvis Presley's first sergeant.
So you got quite a family there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
And matter of fact, my sister, she's married to a military. He's retired in the Air Force also.
If I go back to when you enlisted, Sam, here's this 18-year-old kid on the farm. So where did you enlist? Belton or?
Belton. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Matter of fact, it's Temple, I'm sorry.
Okay. Did you go up there to be inducted?
Yes, sir.
And then they put you on the train?
They put me on a train in Dallas, Texas, or put me on a bus from Temple to Dallas, and caught a train from Dallas to San Diego.
Had you ever been to Dallas?
Never been to Dallas. Never just barely been out of Temple.
And there you are all by yourself.
Yes, sir.
Did it scare you?
Yeah, it did. I had no idea. I'd never been on a train. It took us, I think, about 2 days, 2.5 days to get to San Diego. And I had never hardly been out of Bell County. I met a lot of nice kids that was in the service. As a matter of fact, I still correspond with one of my shipmates. He lives in Phoenix, Arizona. We still talk back and forth, and he spent 4 years with me, and he's the one that used to write all my letters and read all my mail for me.
Wow. Put you on this train, send you to San Diego.
Yes, sir.
You'd never seen the ocean before.
Never seen it.
What'd you think about that?
I didn't know what to think. You sit there and look at it, and of course my brothers had all kind of told me what was going to go happen and stuff that wanted before me, and I had no idea how big the United States was until I caught that train.
When you went to boot camp, boot camp was how long? You remember, Sam?
It was 14 weeks.
14 weeks?
Yes,
okay.
sir.
What'd you think about boot camp? Here again, here's this kid from the farm, and I'm sure you were used to getting up early.
Oh, yeah. We used to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and milk cows and feed her hogs and feed her chickens, and then off to school. We walked 5 miles across to a little 2-room schoolhouse, Phoenix School. Has two women school teachers, and when the river would get up, we couldn't go to school. So that was one of the reasons I never, I wasn't interested in getting the education. My my grandfather always told me that if you got horse sense, why, you can make it through the world. But, you know, I never had no idea all this electronics and all this other stuff is going to come out, you know, back in them days.
When you went to boot camp, put you in a barracks with a whole bunch of other guys.
A whole bunch of them. There's about 73 of us in a company. And we spent 11 weeks there training, looking at movies, and then we got a 14-day furlough. And I made it back home, spent 14 days with my dad and mother, and I went back to San Diego, and I caught the ship there in San Diego. And then we left from there, went up to Fort Chicago and loaded up with ammunition with the H-bomb and took off to Korea.
Let me back up and go back to boot
Okay.
camp here a little bit, Sam.
Okay.
And we'll come back to that, but what do you think about all that marching?
I wouldn't, you know, we were pretty used to it. I thought, you know, a lot of kids from New York and up in there, they couldn't make it, but we were used to running and playing and, you know, working, and didn't really bother me on the marching until I learned how to pack my M1. My sergeant said he said I looked like a squirrel hunter out there with but I finally learned how to, you know, hold a gun up, and we were, but I felt real good, you know. And
You said sergeant. You said sergeant. Did you have Marines or Army to
no, sir,
He was a petty officer?
a petty officer,
Okay.
chief petty officer,
Okay.
Navy.
Okay. Out of all these brothers and sisters, how many were in the service at one time, Sam?
Was 4 of us in the service. Had 2 brothers, 1 brother in the Army, 1 brother in the Air Force, and 2 brothers, me and my brother was in the Navy.
What'd your mom think about all 4 of you being gone at the same time?
She got awful gray-headed, I know that, awful quick. My dad, he didn't know what, you know, he didn't want us to all go in at one time like that, but we all wanted to go.
Were they living in town, Sam, or were they in the country yet? When 4 of you were in?
I didn't.
Were your mom and dad in town, or were they in the
No,
country?
we were still on the farm at
Still
that
on the
time.
farm?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I was the last one to join. Just about 2 weeks after we moved town, I joined service.
Okay. Okay, so you come home on leave, go back out, and they put you on a ship.
Yes, sir.
Home ported in San Diego.
Yes, sir. Well, it was in dry dock. We had to get all the gasoline and stuff off the guns, grease and whatever, you know.
It was in dry dock just for repairs, or it had been there for
It'd
years?
been there for a while. So.
Okay, like mothballed.
Right, right.
Okay.
Yeah, it was in mothballs.
And really, they were taking it out because of the Korean War.
Right.
Okay. Okay. You went to Port Chicago,
Yes, sir.
and that's California?
Yes, sir.
California?
That's up kind of past Sacramento River.
Okay.
There's one ship, one of the ammunition ship back in the World War II had blowed up, and it was just I think there's only one kid that survived out of the whole bunch, and he was a mailman. He was over in San Francisco getting the mail.
Wow. What was your job on that ship, Sam?
I was a gunner's mate. We took care of all the ammunition, handling the ammunition, storing it in the hole, make sure it was shored up right. We used to work on our guns and stuff, you know, clean them up.
When you had a work party, though, did all hands participate in that work party?
All the gunner's mates did.
Okay.
It was, you know, like gunner's mate and boatswain mates, but we'd hold quarters. We had sections. In other words, the gunner's mates would be in one section, and the boatswain mates, sonar, radio, and all that. It'd be in different sections.
Being this old farm boy, how'd you like riding on that ship the first time? You get seasick?
I got sick. Oh, I got sick. There was, I couldn't. My brothers and them told me when I got out on the ocean, he said, "Be sure and eat crackers and a pickle." Well, we couldn't find pickles or crackers.
Could you do anything, any work or anything when you were seasick, Sam?
Yes, sir. We still
Just carried that bucket?
now just lean over the side,
Okay.
feed the fish.
You said before that you loaded ammunition, including H-bomb.
Yes, sir.
Was this first time when you went to Port Chicago?
Yes, sir. Matter of fact, we caught a train, a flatbed train, out of Port Chicago and went up in the mountains. There's a lot of bunkers up there, holes and stuff, and it was about, I think about 7 or 8 of us on the ship. We had to carry guns with them. Once they loaded the H-bomb on the flatbed freight car, I carried a BAR, and the rest of the boys had M1s and BARs and sub-Thompson machine guns.
Did you know this was an H-bomb, Sam?
I didn't know it until after we got it loaded on the ship. I knew it was awful secret. While we were riding on this train with guns on it, you know, guarding it, I figured it had to be something important. And once we got it on the ship, they shored it in, and the captain called us up and told us what it was.
Where'd you take it?
Went straight into Japan, in Sasebo, Japan, and then we left from there on. We took on some more ammunition in Sasebo, Japan, and we left there and went out to the 77 Fleet and 92.2 Fleet and started arming other ships.
You left you left the H-bomb in Japan? Where did you take it? You took it with you?
Yeah, we took it with us everywhere. Matter of fact, before Korea signed a peace treaty, we were ready to put it on the aircraft carrier Boxer. We had already started to uncrating it, and once we found it, I guess the next day we were supposed to load it on the Boxer, USS Boxer carrier. We're supposed to load it on it the next day, and the captain came on and told us that shore it back up. And we took it off. We brought it back to Port Chicago and took it off the ship there.
How big was this H-bomb?
From what I understand, it weighed around 2,000 pounds. It was a big bomb. It was like we had anything from a 22 bullet on that ship to the H-bomb. We had 2,000-pound blockbusters, what we call blockbusters. We had 1,000-pound, 250, 300-pound bombs. We had 16-inch projectiles, 8-inch projectiles, 5-inch projectiles. Just anything that they needed, we had in the way of ammunition. We had torpedoes, we had grenades, had the bombs that we call them napalm bombs, the one that they drop and the fire comes from it. We had all that.
When you went into Sasebo, did you spend any time on the beach in Japan? Did you go over as?
We had Liberty in Sasebo, yes sir. We'd have to pull a guard an average once a week, and when you was on guard, you couldn't go to the beach. But I didn't go because really I didn't have that kind of money to go. One week we got paid every other week, first and the 15th, and I was sending allotment home to my dad, and I got $15 first of the month and $14 the 15th of the month. So I didn't have the money to go on the beach much.
You were sending Dad half?
I sent them allotment. They call it allotment,
right.
And it comes out of your paycheck.
Right.
We got $117 a month.
Okay.
And they took, I think about $37 I sent to my dad. So they deducted that from my paycheck.
Your brother's doing the same thing, Sam, you think?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
My brother, each one of us kids sent my mother or my dad, one of us, we sent allotment home. My dad, he's on that farm. There wasn't no, it was flint rock. Like I say, if you went up there, it's one of the poorest pieces of property in the United States, I guess. It's rattlesnakes, flint rock. You could chop 10, 15 feet, chop corn or cotton, and your hoe was duller and wouldn't hit. We couldn't cut a cucumber.
If we go back to the Navy and you go out of Sasebo and you go to the fleet and you replenish the fleet.
Yes, sir.
How does that, you're out there in your AE, ammunition ship, you're driving around, and this carrier needs bombs. So how does this all take place?
Well, we'd, I guess, out in the ocean, and the captain would steer the ship, or tell us how to steer it. When the other ships would come alongside of us, and we'd shoot a shot line over. That was my job. Shoot a shot line over, and then they would pull a rope over, and then pull a cable over, and we'd hook a pulley up on the other ship, and bring it back.
Did you shoot the shot line or throw it, Sam?
No, shot it.
You used shotgun?
It's like a little shotgun.
Okay.
And kind of the shot line is like in a small bucket, and once you shoot, well, that nylon thread would come out of that bucket and go to it had a projectile on the end of that nylon thread about this long, and it went down in the barrel. And when you shot it, it usually hit the ship somewhere. But then once we got the cable over, they'd hook up a pulley and we'd bring that cable back over and hook it in together. And we'd hook it to big net rope nets, and roll our bombs or whatever we were sending over to them.
How many pounds would you put in that net, do you think, Sam?
We usually about 10 250-pound bombs, probably 3 1,000-pound bombs, and 1 2,000-pound bomb. It'd take us about when the ship would pull alongside of us, it'd take us about 3.5 hours to arm that ship.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
That's a long time to be.
Yes, sir. Matter of fact, one time the boxer come alongside, and somehow the up in the helm where they was steering the ship, somebody got screwed up, and I don't know if we hit the boxer or they hit us, but we knocked a pretty little hole in the boxer about like this. They had to come back stateside to repair it.
You had the boxer come alongside, aircraft carrier.
Yes, sir.
Then you would have had some smaller ships too, I guess, like destroyers.
All kinds of DD destroyers, anything from a small ship to the battleship.
You ever do that in rough seas, Sam?
Oh yeah, yeah. It was. Matter of fact, I won't say every time, but I'd say probably 50% of the time it was real rough. We pulled into Burleson and actually rearmed the Marine ducks. But and then we pulled.
You went up to the pier or a wharf, I guess.
No, it was out. Probably.
They came out in the bay or whatever.
Yeah, about 2 miles out.
Wow.
And the Marine ducks would come out, and we'd put ammunition in the ducks, Marine ducks, and they'd take them back to the shore. And then while we was there, we picked up one of our airplanes that had crashed. Nobody knew anything about it, but we picked it up and took it back to Sasebo, Japan, and pulled it off.
You picked it up. It was on a pier or.
It was on a flatbed trailer, and
Okay.
we picked it up off that flatbed trailer and put it on our ship on top of one of the ammunition holds, and took it back to Sasebo, and we took it off and on a barge, put it on a barge over there.
You mentioned Burleson, so did you go on Liberty in Korea?
No, sir.
No. Okay.
So after we were over around 9 months, we got what they call a special Liberty, and the ship went into Japan. I was trying to think of the name of it. Can't think of the name of it. Anyway, we had Liberty for 7 days, and then later on, after we were there for a while, we come back into Sasebo and load up ammunition, and then we went to Philippines. We had Liberty in Philippines. They were building an airport there in the Philippines, Subic Bay, and we were there for, I guess, that was another, what they call a special Liberty for us being there as long as we were.
You were in Japan, Sam, in probably 1952, 1953.
Yes, sir.
So the Second World War had only been over 7, 8 years.
Yes, sir.
You see any signs of the war?
Where they dropped the H-bomb in Japan, we pulled Liberty. We went there, and I've got pictures where that there's the only thing was standing was just the front of the church, of the Japanese church. It's just the front of it, and it would look like it had a tornado. I mean, and it had a hole probably bigger than this building right here, where the bomb had hit, and we took quite a few pictures of it.
Did the people have any resentment, or was there any feeling at all, Sam, about the bomb?
I don't think so, because most of the workers that we loaded their ammunition was all Japanese people, and they matter of fact, one of the guys, they invited us over on the beach and fed us, and we spent the biggest part of the day there at his house in Sasebo.
They speak English?
The one did, but the majority of them didn't. That this one, he spoke real good English.
Maybe went to school in
Probably
California, huh?
He
Okay.
might have went to school here in the United States.
So you got out in 1955. You did your 4-year hitch.
Yes, sir.
Got out a month early or so, but it's still a 4-year hitch.
About 4 days, 8 days, something like that.
What'd you do when you got out, Sam?
Went to work for a construction on a rock crusher, operating heavy equipment, furnished gravel and rock for Fort Hood Reservation.
Okay.
And then I spent, we took this whole mountain down, and the job was fixing to end, and it was fixing to move to San Antonio, Texas. And I loaded all my stuff in my car and went to California. And went to work for Libby McNeil. Libby first got there, and that's where I met my wife's grandmother that worked at Libby McNeil, Libby. And then I worked there a year, and I went to work for National Can and worked 30 years for National Can.
In California.
Huh?
In California.
I spent 18 years in California, and I was evidently the only history that hourly worker to get transferred to Fort Worth, Texas.
Okay. So you retired from National Can?
I
Sam?
retired National Can 30 years, and then I didn't want to quit, so I bought some tractors and started baling hay, custom baling hay. I still do that.
You do?
Yes.
At your age, you're still out there custom baling hay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Day like today, isn't that a little warm out there?
It's pretty warm, but I got air conditioning that tractor.
A little different than what your dad had.
Yeah.
Did your dad have a tractor, or did you farm with mules?
We had mules and horses.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, Dale, we were poor.
You remember those mules, do you?
Oh yeah, I remember my dad. He had one old mule when he got married to my mother. We still had that mule, Beck and Polly. We had 2 mules. I tell you what, they were good mules. And we had a bunch of other mules, but we called them Big Boy and old Jake and Pat.
Did you have all these mules at one time, Sam?
Oh yeah.
So you had quite a few mules.
We had 14 mules at one time.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many acres did your dad farm?
My dad, as close as I can get, Dale, I think it was somewhere around 88 acres. It's there on top of we lived on a mountain, and off the main highway. When my dad would go to town, he'd ride a horse or take a wagon, and usually when he went to town, it was during summertime, and he'd get a 50-pound block of ice, and he'd wrap it up in tow sacks and cotton sacks, and when the time he got back to our house, we had about 25 pounds of ice.
Wow.
Wow. And we'd make ice cream, that hand crank ice cream. In the wintertime, the old house we lived in, we'd have to stack brush on top of the house to keep the water from coming in, try to keep it out. But when it rained, my mother had every pan that she had in the house under drip. You couldn't ever sleep much. But all of us kids, we slept on pallets, and 4 in a bed, it was a pretty hard time.
Wow. Well, Sam, we certainly appreciate you taking the time to come see us.
Yeah,
It's an interesting story.
Thank you very much.
Don't think I ever talked to anybody who served on an AE before, and you guys did a lot of different things.
Yeah, we went through a lot of hard times, I tell you. We like I say, we walked to school 5 miles across the goat trail. Sometimes we killed 1 or 2 rattlesnakes on the way to school or on the way home.
It was uphill both directions, wasn't it, Sam?
Yes, biggest part of the time. But we had to cross 5 fences, 5 different farms in order to get to school. And then we had Nolan Creek to cross. And my dad, when it wash her little, we had like a telephone pole. He stretched it across the creek, and that's how we get across the creek without getting wet. And when it come up flood, well, my dad had a chain on one end of that pole where he'd wash it off back over on the side of the river, and had a rope on the other end. And that way, when it the water would get up real high, well, it'd break that rope and wash it back over here. That way we'd keep her crosswalk. And when the river would get down, we'd go back. That way we'd go back to school.
Sam, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good to meet you, sir.